Hello everyone, Steve from Martell Training Group. Today I'd like to talk about the lawsuit that was filed on behalf of the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association and the New Jersey FOP, Fraternal Order of Police, against the state of New Jersey. It has to do with retired police officers' ability to carry a firearm, a concealed firearm, with them for protection. So just to give you a little bit of background, today I'm going to talk about LEOSA a little bit and the New Jersey RPO, or Retired Police Officer Permit to Carry. When I was a trooper, I'm a retired state trooper. The last unit I was in prior to retirement, our unit handled the RPO, or Retired Police Officer Permit to Carry. So I know a lot about that permit process. And this lawsuit that I'm going to talk about has to do with the constitutionality of whether New Jersey can come in and say and preempt federal law and say, well, no, we're going to make our law even more strict about retired officers and whether or not they can carry firearms, and under what conditions can they carry firearms. Just as a background, LEOSA, or Law Enforcement Officer Safety Act, it initially came out as HR 218, and it was a bill or law that was passed in 2004, I believe, under President Bush. He signed it into law, which basically, to increase the safety of Americans nationwide, and also it was for several reasons that the law was passed, but a lot of police officers that spend 25 or more years arresting criminals, when they retire and now they no longer can carry weapons to protect themselves and their family, now they could be subject to retaliation. The other reason was to just provide armed, trained people that are out there in the event of an active shooter or a crime that takes place. You have these retired police officers that are trained. A lot of them have 25 or more years of police training and experience, and now they have the ability to carry a firearm wherever they go in the United States, all 50 states. That's why LEOSA was passed. And the language of it, and I'm not an attorney, and if you have any question about your ability or your qualifications to carry under LEOSA, you should check with an attorney or check with your local authorities. The qualifications under LEOSA, and you can look them up, and I'll list them actually in the description, and I'll put a link to LEOSA in the description of the video below. But basically, you have to retire from a law enforcement agency, and you have to have 10 or more years of service. And you have to have been, during your time in that agency, you have to have either supervised or have had powers of arrest to prosecute, to arrest people for crimes, prosecute, to investigate crimes. Because I know a lot of departments across the United States, you might be considered a police officer, but maybe you don't have powers of arrest, which is foreign to me, because in New Jersey, all police officers have powers of arrest. That's one of the qualifications. Now, if you have less than 10 years and you've completed your probationary period with that agency and you get hurt on the job, then you're also qualified under LEOSA. You have to have been issued a retired police officer identification card from your agency you retired from. Another qualification is that you have to have completed qualification at the range with your weapon that you're carrying within a 12-month period. So you have to qualify once in 12 months. You cannot have been deemed unable to possess a firearm federally. So if you've been arrested or charged, or you don't qualify to carry a firearm or possess a firearm, then you're not qualified under LEOSA. Also, you can't be under the influence of drugs or alcohol. You cannot have been deemed mentally unfit to work or mentally unfit to carry a firearm. So there's a list of qualifications that most retired police officers qualify. Most do nationwide, in my experience. So under LEOSA, you're traveling with your family or by yourself, and you encounter law enforcement. You're in another state. You encounter law enforcement. For whatever reason, it comes up that you're carrying a concealed weapon. And they say, well, show me proof that you're qualified to carry this. Well, under LEOSA, here's my retired ID issued from my agency. It says my name, has my photo on it, and it says retired from my agency. My chief signed it, however your agency does it. And here's my proof of qualification at the range with this weapon in the last 12 months. And you carry those two things with you, and under LEOSA, you're covered. So if that police officer that you encounter isn't familiar with LEOSA, well, he or she can look it up, right? But you're qualified. You have your retired ID. You have proof that you've qualified in 12 months. A lot of guys put it on their phone. They take a picture or they save it on their phone. So they have their qualifications with them. So if you meet all these requirements under LEOSA, then federal law from 2004, and it has been amended once or twice over the years, federal law states that you can carry in all 50 states. Now, it's a concealed carry. It's not an open carry. And there are restrictions. So, for example, you can't, on private property, you can't just say, well, I'm carrying a gun because I qualify under LEOSA. No, there are certain places that you can't carry. But in general, if you qualify under LEOSA, federally, you can carry in all 50 states as a retired police officer if you meet these qualifications. However, in New Jersey, and I live in New Jersey, and I was a state trooper for 25 years, so I'm well familiar with the state of New Jersey and their firearms laws. In the state of New Jersey, they implemented what's called the RPO, or the Retired Police Officer Permit to Carry program. New Jersey basically said, if you're a retired police officer and you live in New Jersey, we don't care if you qualify under LEOSA. You want to carry a weapon, you need to apply for our permit to carry, and we're going to do an extensive background. We're going to do all these database checks on you, and you have to qualify twice a year like our active duty police officers do, and you have to qualify with a qualified firearms instructor that is on file with us. They have to be registered with the state of New Jersey, the state police, and you have to provide your weapons that you're going to carry with the serial number and the weapons that you qualify with that you plan on carrying. Now, the advantage of the RPO, it's not all bad. If you plan on working as an armed guard or armed security officer, then you need basically an open carry permit in the state of New Jersey. So the RPO, if you get the RPO, it's an unrestricted permit to carry. So you can carry openly. You can carry for a job. You can also, if you qualify with a firearm that has 15 rounds, you can carry that firearm up to 15 rounds. Otherwise, everyone else in the state is restricted to 10 rounds. Even armed security officers are restricted to 10 rounds because you can get a permit to carry through the courts. This permit that I'm talking about, the RPO, is issued by the state police. The superintendent of state police decides whether or not you get issued this RPO, this permit to carry. And this is where the lawsuits come into play. Because basically New Jersey Attorney General has said, and the governor has basically said, if you're a retired police officer from another state, like Pennsylvania, for example, or Delaware, and you qualify under LEOSA to carry as a retired police officer, you can come into our state and you don't need a permit to carry. However, if you live here and you're a retired police officer, that's not good enough. You need to apply for our permit to carry, and we're going to do an extensive background on you, even though you're a retired police officer, and we're going to charge you $50 every year because that's the cost of it. You're going to have to pay the $50 fee. And you're going to have to go through this process every year if you want to live in New Jersey and carry as a retired police officer, even though you might qualify under LEOSA, even though LEOSA begins saying notwithstanding any state law. So they're basically starting LEOSA saying, in spite of any state law, this is the law of the land. However, New Jersey decided many years ago they were going to add on to that and say, no, if you live here and you're a retired police officer, you're going to go through this process. So that's what preempted this lawsuit. And a lot of people have thought for many years that it's not necessary, it's not required. It's New Jersey's overreach saying, well, federal law says this, you can't override federal law. So that's what this lawsuit is, a culmination of that. And recently, in the last few days, last week, the U.S. District Court in New Jersey ruled in favor of the lawsuit that the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association and the New Jersey FOP brought against the state of New Jersey. So what we're being told now is that you do not need the RPO. If you're a retired police officer in New Jersey and you qualify under LEOSA, and that's up to you to figure out if you qualify. That's every individual has to determine if he or she qualifies under LEOSA. And if you're not sure, if something happened to you at the end of your career and you're not sure, you need to talk with an attorney or authorities in where you live and figure out if you qualify. If you do qualify with the result of this decision, this court decision, it's in favor of Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association and New Jersey FOP. It's in favor saying you do not need the New Jersey RPO. That process is not required. If you qualify under LEOSA, then you don't need to go through that permitting process. In addition, hollow point ammunition was part of the lawsuit because the Attorney General had put out an order or a memo saying a couple of years back saying you can't carry hollow point ammunition. So the only people in New Jersey who can carry hollow point ammunition with them are active duty police officers until this lawsuit, until this court decision. Now retired police officers can carry hollow point ammunition according to this court decision. So in the past, before this decision, as a retired police officer, and if you know anything about ammunition, hollow point ammunition is a safer round to use. It's safer because the idea is it expands on impact. Does it do more damage? Yes. Potentially, it does do more damage because it expands when it enters the cavity or body. However, typically it does not penetrate and go through. So if you're shooting if you need to stop a target or a person or a bad guy with a gun, and you shoot that person and you're not using hollow point and your round goes through them and hits somebody behind that person, that bad guy, that's a problem. So hollow point ammunition, for the most part, prevents that. It's safer. It's more accurate. But the state of New Jersey, in their infinite wisdom, has said, well, you can have hollow point ammunition in your home for home protection. You can buy it at an ammunition store or gun store. You can take it home. You can shoot it at the range. But if you have a permit to carry, you cannot carry that with you until this court decision. So now, retired police officers, according to this court decision, can carry the hollow point ammunition. So it's in my opinion, a very nice win for retired police officers residing in New Jersey. Again, the RPO does have its advantages. If you do want to work as an armed security officer in New Jersey or any kind of armed capacity security job, and you want to carry openly or have the option to carry openly, then you need the RPO. So it does have its benefits. Now, also carrying like at schools and places where they have signs that say firearms not permitted. Under LEOSA, it might be questionable whether or not you can say, for example, carry a firearm at your kid's school. However, in New Jersey with the RPO, it's an unrestricted carry. It's open, it's concealed. And again, if you qualify with a weapon with up to 15 rounds, then you can carry that weapon even though everyone else is restricted to 10 rounds. So if you're an armed security officer working and you're not a retired police officer and you apply through the court and you get approved for your permit to carry as an armed, say, an armed car driver or just an armed security officer, you're restricted to 10 rounds in New Jersey and you can't have hollow point. So that's the difference here. So the RPO does have its advantages, but I know there are a lot of retired police officers in New Jersey that live in New Jersey that want to carry a weapon for personal protection, to protect themselves and their family. And up until now, they've had to go through this RPO process of paying $50 and getting a complete background every year. And now, according to this court decision, they do not have to do that. Now this court decision has set the record straight that federal law stands as it actually has all along, in my opinion, but now it's official according to this decision. So will New Jersey appeal? We don't know yet. They could appeal the decision. Right now, as it stands, this is a win for retired police officers residing in New Jersey. Just before we end the video here, I just want to reiterate that I was the unit head of the Firearms Investigation Unit in the State Police before retirement. So I handled the RPOs and all kinds of firearms related issues in the state of New Jersey. If anybody has any comments or questions, please leave them in the comment section. I will try to get back to you in a timely manner and maybe produce a video, a follow-up video with questions or clarifications. That's it, folks. If you liked the video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to our channel. Hit that notification button as well so you'll be notified when we release new videos. Thanks for watching, take care, and stay safe.